That's me, Rudy Giuliani. Today and tonight, wow, we're going to run out of time to talk because a lot of things are going on in so many different areas. And in some ways, they come back to the same general thrust if you get it. If not, they're all a bunch of diverse things. And you wake up in the morning saying, what damage did Biden do to us today? So we figured out that, well, maybe not today, but over this weekend, 2 banks went under. One of them is the 17th largest bank in the United States. That's pretty damn significant. But it's even more significant because I'm not an expert economist by any means, but I can explain to you why it went under. 2008, it took me a long time to figure out what happened. I'm not sure I absolutely understand exactly what happened, nor does anybody else. But this one is easy. You want it? Simple. Biden did it. That bank went under solely, only, completely because of Joe Biden, the Biden policies, and it went under because of something that's going to sound a little bit off topic for a moment when I first introduce it to you, but you're going to get it. So I'm going to play something for you from the queen of insider trading, otherwise known as Nancy Pelosi. She's the one whose husband and her made a fortune trading on inside information because she made sure that the law making it a crime to trade on inside information did not apply to Congress. And more than anyone in Congress, she took advantage of it, which makes her a slime bag, right? Complete slime bag. Adored by the left, adored by the press, and allowed to become a multi-millionaire, billionaire based on something you can't do, based on something I put people in jail for doing. Where do you think she belongs? And that might be the best. Those might be the best things I could say about her. But in any event, I want you to listen to her. She is she's not senile like Biden, but like she doesn't have like half her brain missing, but certain portions of her brain are missing and her rearranged face. So let's listen to her, and you might not get it right away, but just listen carefully, okay?
But here's the thing: you can't just go after China, but with a cudgel. You have to say we have to live on this planet together. How can we work together to save the planet from climate change? They're essential in that discussion.
Did you get it? We have to work together with China. We can't go after them with a cudgel, meaning we can't use all of the weapons in our arsenal against them because we have to save us from climate change. Let's listen to it one more time.
But here's the thing. You can't just go after China but with a cudgel. You have to say we have to live on this planet together. How can we work together to save the planet from climate change? They're essential in that discussion.
Okay, well, let's first begin with language. Neither Nancy Pelosi, Xi Jinping, Joe Biden, I don't care who is going to change climate change. The climate's going to change, Nancy. It's about in the process of doing it right now. We're going like from winter to spring, from spring to summer, from summer to fall, from fall back to winter. Huh? Did you ever listen to Vivaldi's The Seasons? Now, I make that point because it's a stupid communist approach, 1984 approach to the truth, which is to lie. This isn't about climate change. Of course, the climate changes. Even in tropical areas, the climate makes modest changes. In more moderate climates, it makes big changes. So this is not about climate change. We're going to stop climate change? What, are we going to have one climate all the time? It's about global warming. But since global warming has been proven to be bullshit, you cannot say that because people will laugh at you when you go back and pull out Al Gore telling us we'd be gone in 2010 and that the ocean would have taken over Florida by now. It's just not happening in any kind of an emergency way. And if it's happening, there's a real question, not resolved by your, look, we know what scientists are worth now, don't we? They're worth the price that you have to pay them, like they were during a COVID, right? Oh, yeah, the mask is going to save you. The mask is not going to save you. Oh, the vaccine is going to end COVID. No, you just got to get it like 40 times. You name it. A lot of the scientists are like everybody. They go where the money is. And the money is with climate change. Al Gore became a billionaire selling you that bill of goods. All those carbon credits, what the hell do they do for anybody? Now, I'm not talking about pollution. I'm talking about the activities of human beings on this tiny little planet changing the vast universe and the direction of the vast universe. If our universe is getting warmer or colder, it's been doing that since God created it. And you tell me who did if God didn't. Yeah, give me Big Bang. Yeah, come on, give me Big Bang. Who did the Big Bang? Well, just Big Bang, boom. Somebody's got to say boom. So all of you atheists, I don't know, I pray for you, okay? I'm going to be nice. I pray for you. But in any event, now why did I use that to start? And we're talking about the SVB scandal, and a scandal it is, because that's why the bank went under. Because the priority is climate change. We can't fight China the way we want to because of climate change. We've got to let China become the ruler of the world because that's where China is going. And we back down to China left and right? Partially because of climate change, right? And partially because they own our president. Here, look at this headline. GOP, Biden lets Z take Diplo lead. Now, Biden could be doing that for one of two reasons or two reasons. One, what Nancy Pelosi told you, we can't get China upset because we need them, because otherwise we're going to screw up climate change, whatever that is. It's a hoax. That's what it is. It's a hoax. It's a Marxist hoax intended to redistribute wealth. If you haven't figured that out yet, read, okay? And stay focused. And don't get pushed around intellectually because you're smarter than they are. You really are. You would not have run this bank the way they did. Now, this bank was not run like a bank. It was run like a cult, woke, climate change dedicated institution. The major priority of this bank was its diversity officers, its investment in new technologies that might lose money, but and avoiding technologies that were older technologies that might make a lot of money. It was caused by a group of silly, ignorant, grossly negligent directors who put 57% of their assets in investments. Hard to get out when you have to get them out, whereas the average for a peer bank is only 24%. They did that, and they did it to a fairly well because they put them in these long-term bonds, 10 years, because they were counting on the fact that there'd be no interest rates. Now, how stupid is that? People have been predicting for 3 or 4 years that interest rates would have to go up. Now, Biden assisted this by creating the massive inflation that we have, and then denying the fact, denying it, lying about it for a year. And the politicized Fed didn't do anything to raise interest rates slowly 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago. And all of a sudden they got to a crisis and they had to raise them quickly, recklessly, really. Because they finally just didn't listen to him anymore. I mean, they realized what everyone knew from the beginning, which is he doesn't have a brain. That precipitous increase in interest rates meant that these bonds were becoming not valueless, but losing tremendous value. And they had put so much of their assets in those bonds, when depositors wanted money, they would have to sell these bonds at big losses. And now the losses were overtaking the assets of the bank. If the bank had followed the policy of let's stick to making money and not trying to save the planet from climate change and suck up to the Bidenistas, they wouldn't have gone under. And other banks are going to go under who follow this woke craziness. It's the issue that people have been making against BlackRock for some time now. And hopefully we're going to learn a lesson from this. Economic decisions should be made for economic reasons. So if I entrust my money to someone, they become a fiduciary. I expect them to make money for me legally. I don't expect them to effectuate their social goals or religious goals or philosophical goals ahead of making money for me. Then when you make the money for me, I'll decide what social goals or philosophical goals or religious goals I want to support. Maybe I want to support stopping climate change, even though I'd be crazy. Well, you're entitled to be crazy with your own money. Or maybe I'd want to support encouraging people not to have abortions. In America, I should be allowed to do that. Imagine if a bank decided that. They'd go crazy. But that's what they're doing to us. And now what they've done is they got you to pay for it because of the corruption of the bailout. That bank should not have been bailed out. There is a law. The law says that you are protected up to $250,000 in money that you have in the bank. That's passed by Congress. The president has no right to just say, "Oh, I'll make it 500 or a million or unlimited." Well, that's what he just did in a stroke of a pen. And the theory, I guess, he never had to prove it to anybody, is that this would be catastrophic to our economy, the failure of this crappy bank. No, it wouldn't. It'd have been catastrophic to a couple of billionaires in Silicon Valley who voted for him. In fact, probably about 95% of the depositors in the bank voted for him. You think if this bank were in New Palestine, they'd have gotten a bailout? Ha! They wouldn't even been recognized. I mean, Buttigieg wouldn't go there again. I was there when he was there, and he was holding his nose. No, did you see him? I don't have to be near these people. Deplorables. Oh, my God. I thought that's why we won the election, so we didn't have to be near deplorables like this. And Biden still hasn't gone there. I'm telling you, if this bank were in New Palestine, do you think they would have gotten an exception from the $250,000 limit? No, the answer would have been, that's the law. That's what you understood. You can deal with that. Just put $250,000 in one bank, another bank, another bank, another bank, another bank, another bank, another, and you'll be protected. You like this bank so much, you want to go beyond. That's your choice. Why do I have to pay for that when that turns out to be a terrible mistake? I would not have put my money in this bank. Anything that said Silicon Valley, I wouldn't put my money in because I figure it's run by a bunch of crazy, nutty, insane liberals. Now, I did have my money in the other bank, Signature Bank. And my mistake. I didn't do due diligence. I didn't know that Barney Frank was on the board. That alone would have gotten me to take my money out. Now, for other reasons, I took out a lot of my money from my companies. It wasn't my money, my company's monies, and switched it over to another bank, actually, just because I preferred another person, another banker. It had nothing to do with Signature Bank. I actually only can tell you I had good relationships with Signature Bank. And I still have a little bit there, but well within the protected amount, not the illegally protected amount, the legally protected amount. But I would not have had my money in a bank where Barney Frank was on the board. I did because I was lazy and I didn't look at the board. I never looked at the board of banks. I never thought of doing that. But if I saw that name on there, I would have actually tried to get somebody to bet me that the bank would go under. I'd have guaranteed you that a Barney Frank bank would go under. There isn't anybody more reckless about our economy than that guy. He's the author of a bill that has done tremendous damage to our economy, has done tremendous assistance to the movement toward communism and the state takeover of banking, because that's where they're going. So I think somebody should challenge Biden's bailout. I don't know where the hell he gets the authority to do it. I'm not even sure if it were catastrophic to our economy, he'd get some kind of an emergency power to do it. I don't know where that comes from. I mean, you can make it up, I guess. But you can't argue that this would be catastrophic to our economy if this one bank went out. Come on. And then you got to look at the conflicts of interest here. These people are all Democrats, Biden supporters, wokesters. They ruined the bank because they prioritize wokeness over profit. And now they're getting bailed out. And we're not learning the lesson from it. The media isn't covering it the way it should. This is a scandal. This problem exists in a lot of American institutions and corporations. All of this, they didn't have a risk assessment officer. They had a number of diversity officers. Oh, yeah, they had all kinds of diversity officers. You know, make sure you're racially diverse, ethnically diverse. Make sure you're invested in climate-friendly technologies. Make sure you're out of fossil fuels. Oh, they were great on that. They used to have programs on it and all kinds of stuff. Nobody ever had a program and took a look and said, my God, you've got 57% of your assets in an investment portfolio when other banks have only 24%, giving them a lot more flexibility. And the 57% are in very, very long-term instruments, which makes it even worse. Like the San Francisco Fed never saw that. Well, maybe because the head of the bank is on the Fed. I think his name is Becker. Becker, damn it, you should be under investigation. I mean, I know you're probably just following Nancy's lead, but 3 days before the bank went under, you sold your stock. What a creep. How come nobody's not pointing that out? The guy sold his stock. He shouldn't get bailed out. And by the way, he sold his stock and he told everybody to be calm. He wasn't calm. How do these lying creeps get away with it? And nobody points it out. Nobody. But me. Oh, and I think the Wall Street Journal. Yes, sir. I think I saw it in the Wall Street Journal. I'm going to check before we get off because I don't want to be unfair to anybody. The Wall Street Journal has been good on this. You know, I'm critical of them on a lot of things, but they've been very, very good on this. This is a travesty. So here's the message to all of us regular people who are not entitled Democrats like the communists are in China. You know, there are only 100 million communists in China, and there are 1.4 billion deplorables. So we're the deplorables. So we would not get bailed out. So you have to look now at your bank, and you should take a look and decide whether they have investment policies that you agree with. Do you think that these exceptions should be made to profit for the purpose of new technologies, so that instead of investing in something that it'd be more profitable, you invest in something that is more what they would call socially acceptable. Now, they define what's socially acceptable, and it's defined based on a Marxist view of the world. Or do you agree with the more traditional position that a bank should be for the purpose of holding your money and in very, very careful and conservative ways investing it, and investing it with the principle of making money, not for other purposes? And then when it does make money and you want to take it out, you can decide what other purposes the money should be put to. That would be like consistent with a country that's a free country, a country that's a republic, a democracy. The other would be consistent with Russia and China. And you know where it's going. It's going so Elizabeth Warren can get state-controlled banks, all state-controlled banks. And when they want to collect your taxes, they just come in and take it out of your account. That's where they're going. That's where they're going. Or here's an editorial. Here's a great article by a candidate for president who I had on my radio show the other day, Vivek Ramaswamy, who basically argues that they're not entitled to a bailout. They're a renegade bank. They're a bank that should be sued for recklessness and possibly prosecuted. I certainly think that selling of stock by the CEO of the bank, who's on the board of the FDIC in San Francisco, I think that's really got to be looked into. I mean, it really does. It does create a suspicion this guy's been really screwing around for a long time. And why did the San Francisco Fed never come in and say this is an irresponsible allocation of assets? I mean, it jumps out at you. It just jumps out at you. I mean, it's. Oh, and by the way, 90% of their deposits were uninsured. 90%. It didn't matter because they had insurance. It's called politically corrupt insurance. It's called bribery. They supported Biden. Biden bailed them out. Now, Janet Yellen is completely responsible for this. Janet Yellen, who is trying to promote the head of the San Francisco Fed, Mary Daly, to the actual Fed. This should kill her chances, I hope. I mean, Mary Daly is either asleep at the switch or she's a complete communist, because this bank would jump out at you unless she's got some kind of relationship with the guy who sold his stock, Becker, who's also on the board. But Janet Yellen should have known about this months ago. She should have known about it months ago. But I mean, she's more concerned about trying to create a world tax. I mean, do you realize the damage that this nitwit has done to our economy since she's been there? First of all, not standing up to him when he said that inflation was transitory, creating that 1-year period of no increase in interest rates. That's the direct cause of this. And it's not as if other people weren't warning her, including other Democrats. Oh, but she was sucking up big time. Now, who's going to pay for this? Oh, the Fed's going to pay for this out of their insurance fund. Yeah. Well, they don't have an insurance fund. The insurance fund's up to $250,000. They have a rainy day fund. Let me describe this to you from someone who understands it better than I do. This is from the Post, and it's William Luther, who is the director of the American Institute for Economic Research Sound Money Project. And this is an article by, I'll give you all their names, Thomas Barabi, Josh Christensen, Lydia Moynihan, and Ariel Zilber. Thank you for this article. Okay. The fund gets its money in quarterly payments from FDIC-insured banks. This is the fund that's going to pay, which will likely make customers shoulder and burden any additional costs, said William Luther, director of the American Institute for Economic Research Sound Money Project. The Deposit Insurance Fund is not really an insurance fund, says Mr. Luther. It's a rainy day fund, which gets drawn down following a bank failure and replenished after. Although the statutory incidence of these taxes falls on banks, they passed along the cost to their customers in the form of higher fees, which you will pay, and lower quality services, which you will suffer, such as fewer tellers. And if it gets drained, then the money will be taken from the taxpayers. So you don't agree, I assume, many of you don't agree that banks should decide on investments based on climate change, diversity, equity as they define it, where everybody has to come out equal. You agree with the notion that banks should be based on a fiduciary duty to use your money wisely and make a profit. However, you're being forced to have your money used to bail out a bank that went under for that reason. That's what communism is all about. The state is taking over the individual decisions that we used to be able to make. So I don't know. I recommend to you any number of articles. I mean, Who Killed the Silicon Valley Bank by Andy Kessler. Betsy McCoy has a great article in the Post about it. He did. See that face there? Brainless did. Brainless. Another enormous damage to America, the American economy, the American system of government, the American way of life. And another big step toward their goal, which is one world run by Klaus Schwab, Barack Obama, Mrs. Obama. Oh, I don't know who else, but none of the people from New Palestine. You can be sure of that. We got to get on. The Republicans have got to get on top of this. This should be the subject of very, very serious hearings in which all these people on this board should be ripped apart. And then they should be sued for gross negligence. And I think investigated for criminality, because that's going to be done by the crooked Biden Justice Department. So good luck with that. Also, let me remind you now that we've got into another week, because we don't want this to pass away. You know, last week, a lot of time was spent on, at least a lot of time was spent by us, not by the crooked censored media, on the January 6th fraud. And it was proven without any question that Jacob Chansley did nothing more than run around the Congress, doing very little harm, if any, to anything, accompanied by large numbers of police officers who seemed to be amused by what he was doing and who could have stopped him at any time from doing any of the things for which they are prosecuting him or prosecuted him. Don't you think this requires a dismissal of his case? Because none of this evidence was given to his defense. It was hidden from them. That's a violation of the law. The Brady decision requires it, even of the corrupt Biden administration. And what about all those other people? I don't even know how many are sitting in jail. Do you realize that? I mean, January 6th, the exaggeration of January 6th may be equivalent to climate change. It's all intended to manipulate you. It is time that we revisit this whole climate change, global warming thing, and start to re-educate the American public about the truth, so we don't treat it like it's some kind of a proven fact, and it's like a religion that has to be followed.
Mayor, what would you do if you were a prosecutor and this new information came to light?
Well, I would have already subpoenaed all the records of the bank, all of Mr. Becker's records, Mary Daly. How much did the Fed know about this in San Francisco? Was there any quid pro quo for their failure to do anything about it? Why are they bailing out these people beyond the law? What are the communications between them and the White House? Who's involved politically? This is a political bailout, not now. Signature Bank. I don't know all the details of Signature Bank, but you got Barney Frank on that board, boy, and that's a big.
Do you know him? Have you met him?
Big question. What the hell did he have to do with it?
Have you met Barney Frank?
Yeah, I've met Barney Frank. As I said, if I had known he was part of that bank, I would have bet that they would fail. And there you go. Well, you want any more proof that Dodd-Frank was idiotic than the fact that he's on the board of a bank and it fails? It failed. The bank failed. It went under. Based on his rules. How stupid are we? So I think we have got to visit the god of climate change, which leads Nancy Pelosi to say that we really can't take on China because we need China to work with us on climate change. So we have to let China have a larger navy than we have. We have to let China look what they did in the Middle East, making an accord between Iran and Saudi Arabia. Whew, that's getting you close to being the preeminent country in the world, isn't it? I don't know. Before Biden became president, we were. I know Biden made a lot more money in China than America, but you'd think he'd still have some kind of loyalty to us. You think he does? You think he or his family have the slightest bit of loyalty to this country? There's a whole new case now developing, according to Representative Comer, involving a few more people and money from China, from the Chinese communists. What was it, 3 or 4 or 5 million more? I told you 31 million is the bare minimum number that the Bidens got from the Chinese communists over the last 5 or 6 years. And 50% of that went to Joe. Don't ever listen to these liars. I know that hard drive better than anyone. Hunter Biden gives you the formula that they constantly avoid. They use that 10% for the big guy. Yeah, that was in one deal. But Hunter explains to his daughter the overall formula. 50% for Pop for 30 years. There's your RICO case. That's why instead of being president, he should be in Lewisburg. Probably he would be in the nursing home part of Lewisburg with the demented criminals. So what else do we have there? We had any calls yet?
Mayor, I was just going to say, should we take some calls? We just put the number up there on the screen, 1-646-306-8836. That's 1-646-306-8836. You'll find your headphones right on the table there.
These are my headphones. These are for me. Okay. I'm ready to go.
This is Denver, Colorado.
Denver, Colorado. Okay.
Hello, Mr. Mayor.
How are you?
I'm good. How about you?
I'm excellent. Tell me your name.
My name is Calvin, and actually, I in Boulder, Colorado. It's a very liberal place, and I'm the college student at University of Colorado, and involved with a college Republican.
Oh, well, you must be a very brave man.
Yeah, and Mr. Mayor, actually, I met with you on August last year.
You did. Okay. Tell me about it.
On the street, and I also saw the Dr. Maria, and she took a picture with us.
Oh, isn't that nice? In New York? Was it in New York that we met?
In New York, do you remember there's an Asian guy talk to you? That was me.
Ah, well, so tell me what you'd like to talk about tonight.
Well, I just want to say, because I was born in New York, but I spent the rest of my life, grew up in Taiwan. I just want to say I admire you, and I think you are a great man. And my father lived in New York when you were mayor, and he told me he was grateful you were the mayor.
Well, that is so nice. Thank you very, very much. And you should know that we very much support Taiwan's freedom. And I once had
Unknown caller.
And I once had the opportunity to tell that to the head of the Communist Party in Beijing. And he walked out on me. People don't know that story. They know about throwing. Maybe I shouldn't remind everyone.
Let's go to Fred in Fallston, Maryland.
Oh, big storm up there.
Hello.
Hello, is this Fred? Fred?
This is Fred.
And you're in Boston?
No, I'm in Maryland.
Oh, in Maryland. Okay, so what?
Fallston, Maryland.
Oh, Fallston, Maryland. I
Oh,
thought you said Boston. Okay.
Yeah. My cell tower is in Boston. Yeah, I'm pretty close to there.
Okay, so tell me what's up.
You're catching me off guard. I just clicked you on Twitter. Thank you for calling back, by the way.
You're welcome.
And this is a pretty broad question, but constantly, and this goes back years, we see obvious crimes with clear-cut evidence, and nothing is done about it. It's the biggest complaint that I hear from people that I talk to, from people on social media, and like the stuff that's going on right now that Jim Jordan's looking into, that Comer's looking into. I think people have lost faith that anything will happen as a result. So I look at this. We have a corruption party in this country. And there's Republicans in this party. There's Democrats, a lot of Democrats in this party. There's people outside of government, and what I think it's what Trump would call the swamp. So how can we have any hope that anything will ever be done? Crimes that were committed by Barack Obama, by Joe Biden, the clear, obvious crimes we see by Biden. What's going to get us to the point where something's done and people are held accountable?
I would say the only thing that will get it done is a change of administration in Washington. And you got to kick out the Democrat president, who is the most corrupt president in our history, and replace him with a Republican who has the guts to take this all on. And it's going to require that. It's going to require a very courageous president, because the deep state, which used to be just a figure of speech, is much deeper, much more corrupt than we ever realized. We almost don't have a federal criminal justice system any longer. We have a system that operates one way for Democrats and another way for Republicans. Otherwise, Hunter Biden would not be walking around a free man, and the completely incompetent, irresponsible, reckless, should have been disbarred district attorney in Manhattan would not be pursuing Donald Trump in a case that is 7 years old, been decided twice, doesn't even involve a crime, and involves personal sexual activity of far less significance than Bill Clinton in the Oval Office having oral sex while he's on the phone with congressmen and then committing perjury about it. So, I mean, come on. We do not live in a country that has anything approaching a fair justice system. It is one system of justice for the Democrats, get away with anything they want to let you get away with. The Bidens, the hard drive that was covered up by Bill Barr and others proves so many crimes about the Bidens. It would take years to prosecute them all. It contains a racketeering case better than one I've ever prosecuted. And every day more proof comes out about it. And the evidence is on record. It's on record. It's on tape. If there was any justice in this country, this man would not be president. He would be in government housing, but it would be a prison for the 30 years of selling out the United States of America. And now we have the significant question of, did he sell us out to China? That is not an esoteric question. When you see what's happening, why? Why does he not challenge China? Why? They're taking over. We will be subjected to them in the one world that's going to be the new world order that he doesn't even understand it. Obama, who runs him, Klaus Schwab. That's what they want, which is really just another way of making us a communist country. This has been the Marxist plan for 150 years. They started it 100 years ago. They infiltrated our government big time, and now they've infiltrated all parts of our society, our educational system, our corporations, based on our greed. So what changes it? A massive defeat for the crooked Democrat Party, which is, by the way, should no longer be called the Democrat Party because of its history of slavery. If we're going to be sensitive to names and offensive names that had great associations with slavery, there is no name, no institution with greater association with slavery than the Democrat Party, as well as the aftermath of slavery, Jim Crow, lynchings. So let's get rid of the name if we're going to get rid of Jefferson.
Mayor, let's try Russ in Fairlawn, New Jersey. A little closer to home.
Hello, Russ. It's Rudy Giuliani calling you back.
Hey, how are you doing?
I'm doing okay.
I just wanted to call in. I had a couple things observations that are very obvious that I've seen over the last 4 or 5 years.
Please.
First one was the Republican debate, the very first Republican debate when the first question out of the box was that Donald Trump trying to portray him as a racist, asking him about brown people and the Mexican border. I forget her name, Kelly.
Megyn Kelly.
Megyn Kelly from Fox. You know, these people are obvious globalist tools. And I mean, that was number one. Then you go to when he's debating Hillary, and Hillary Clinton basically kind of waits for him to say something about Russia hacking her server, and right away she had kind of a huge grin on her face, like, you know, oh, now we've got him. And they had that whole Russia thing in mind right from the get-go. Right then, you could see it.
Well, she paid for
I
it.
wish somebody could put together clips of this type of stuff. And then when Trump, this election in 2020, I mean, directly called out Biden on their corruption, his family, his son, his brother, the big guy, you know, which is obviously Biden.
Mhm.
And nobody in the media, including Fox, did a darn thing about it. If it was untrue, he would have been sued by Biden. So, I mean, it's so obvious that they're lying. And here's another huge one. And I think basically this is every reason that he's being attacked by both parties is because, let's face it, everybody's been making boatloads of money by sending everything to China. In the meantime, China's been buying our politicians, our media, even our universities and some of our farmland and our businesses. I mean, how stupid and greedy and short-sighted are our politicians? Like you said, they're traitors.
They are.
But every time, you know, you talk about Stormy Daniels coming up in the news. Well, that was a very convenient story, and stories very much like that, which are nonsense, that would come out every time Trump talked about, you know, these tariffs on China are well overdue. It's the only way you level the playing field. Ross Perot was right. He told the truth way back in '92. And a lot of people saw it. But, you know, everybody said, well, you know, they're not going to, you're only dividing the Republican Party and then Bush is going to win. Well, Bush is going to sell us out too. It really didn't matter. They were both going to sell us out. You know, and God forbid Al Gore was president when 9/11 went down, when you took care of what you did in such a great fashion. And President Trump, I mean, not Trump, but President Bush was in there. And, you know, he's somewhat of a globalist too, but
No,
God forbid Al Gore was in there.
he had the right reaction to September 11, and I'll
Absolutely.
I'll back up what you're saying. Right at the time that it happened, I said to my police commissioner, "Thank God that Al Gore is not president," because I could see what would happen. We would have bombed an empty field, and they would have continued to attack us. I mean, Clinton helped to cause it by his tepid reaction to bin Laden's attacks on us. And we got one right now. We've got a Russian. I should have mentioned it earlier. I mean, so much is going on. The Russians attacked one of our drones, took it down. A drone is a military aircraft of the United States of America, taken down over international waters. The White House reaction to it is, this is bad for the environment. Bad for the environment? You just attacked the United States of America, Russia. You got to pay for it. First thing we should do is find a couple of their drones and knock them the hell out of the sky. Yeah, before, by the way, we escort them all over America so they can photograph us, like they did with China, like they did with the Chinese one. Well, I mean, you need any more that he's a sellout to the Chinese than he has them escort an intelligence surveillance massive balloon used to take our nuclear secrets, and he escorts them across the United States, and then he takes them down after they get all the information they want. He probably asked them, "Are you finished?" And they said, "Yeah, Joe, we're finished. And thanks. You earned some of your money." Now, stop me if I'm wrong. Tell me that if this guy and his family got 31 million from the Chinese communists, that isn't the explanation for why he sells out to them. And tell me that giving up the Bagram Air Base 400 miles from China isn't selling out to them. You have to be an absolute traitor to do that. So I agree completely with you. And I think that was a very eloquent presentation of it, by the way.
So let's keep the calls rolling, Mayor. The calls are continuing to come in. Let's go to Tim in Amarillo, Texas.
Tim? Amarillo, Texas.
This is Tim.
Hey, Tim, how are you?
Hey,
This is Rudy Giuliani. We're calling you back.
hello. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing fine. How are you doing?
All right.
So
I want to know who is going to do anything about the Hunter Biden laptop. If you can't do it, who can?
Well, I did everything I can, right? I'm the one who got it.
Agreed.
Mr. Mac Isaac gave it to me and my lawyer, Bob Costello. We turned it over to we turned it over to the Justice Department. Already had it for a year, did nothing with it. Every bit of information I ever gave to Barr got covered up. How that guy could have covered up the hard drive, he should go to jail for. And he goes around pontificating. He had the hard drive for a year and a half. It contains crimes that a first-year law student could figure out. 30 years of crimes outlined by Hunter in a way that an idiot could figure them out. And the Attorney General of the United States sat on it, let the president go to an election and allowed the press to cover it up. And nobody wants to focus on Barr. What about him? He had the hard drive before I did. If it wasn't for me, you wouldn't know about the hard drive. They would have succeeded in covering it up forever, which is why they're trying to disbar me and do everything else they can to me. In fact, if it wasn't for me, Biden would have gotten away with all of this. I was the first one to bring out his involvement in the Ukrainian multi-million-dollar bribe. So here's what has to be done about it. We have to have a Republican president, an honest attorney general. We have had a succession of dishonorable criminal attorney generals, or attorneys general, if you want to be specific. And they have to do their job. By all intents and purposes, and by any measure of justice, Joe Biden should be serving a bare minimum of 20 years in jail for the crimes that he committed over 30 years of selling out the United States of America as a senator, as a vice president, and now as a president. His crimes against the American people are, as far as I know, unmatched by an American president. History will record that. I don't know if he's going to get away with it. I don't know. But when this administration is over, we better not hear let's not revive this. Because if they weren't going to revive it, what the hell are they persecuting Trump for with this ridiculous case with the DA who lets murderers go free? I mean, Biden has to be held responsible for selling out the United States of America. And we need to know the answer. How much has he sold us out to China? How much? It's becoming apparent that he has. This is much worse than I ever thought. Much, much worse.
Let's try Scarsdale, New York, and we'll have to ask for a name.
I went on my map to see where Amarillo is. It's right in the middle of Texas. I remember Amarillo.
Hello, this is Mike.
Hey, Mike. I know where Scarsdale is. How are you?
Hey, good.
So what's up?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you great,
listen,
Mike.
I wanted to speak to Mr. Giuliani.
Is
I wanted to get his opinion on what's going on with the news media, because
Go ahead.
I'm in media tracking. I've been doing it for over 20 years, and I noticed that every single show, whether it's Good Morning America, it's the Today Show, it's World News Tonight, why has everything made such a left turn? I wanted to get his opinion. Everything is, if you watch now, is January 6th. Everything is Trump did this. Everything is Santos. So I wanted to see, if he has any kind of, savant knowledge on what the heck is going on. Besides, China owning Disney and ABC and whatnot.
I would say it is, many of them don't know it. Some of them do. It's the education they received. They're Marxists. They don't agree with our form of government. They don't agree with our way of life. They want to change it. They don't believe that God has any role in the public square. They don't believe that parents should be the ultimate determinant of a child's education. The state should be, which is a communist principle. They obviously think that the government should take over everything and run banks. They seem to support the idea that we should pay out money to people who don't want to work, making it more attractive for them to not work than work. Basically, it is the play out of what Marx wrote over 150 years ago that they have been executing since at least the 1920s. And they infiltrate our education system. So these people who are in the media, in the corporations, have that as a basic education, the way you might have had a different education or a different view of it. Some of them are ideologues. They really believe it. Some of them are brainwashed. Some of them are followers. It sort of gets established as the norm, and people will follow unless there's a dramatic intervention. And that's what Trump was in 2016, a dramatic intervention. And the reason they fear him so much is since Ronald Reagan, he was the most dramatic intervention in our march toward communism. And if you want to boil it down to one, and it's not one, but one locus of this, it's China, Red China.
All right, Mayor, you have a choice here. Do you want to go to Oregon? Excuse me. Do you want to go to Oregon next? Or would you like to go to North Carolina?
I'd like to do both. Let's do Oregon first, since it's further away.
Let's go to Oregon, Coos Bay, Oregon. Sherry. COOS Bay.
Hello.
Hello, Sherry.
Yes.
It's Rudy Giuliani. How are you?
Oh, I'm great, Mr. Mayor. I adore you.
Well,
I was born in Brooklyn.
You were born in Brooklyn. You're so far away from Brooklyn now. You're in
Oh,
Coos,
yeah.
Coos Bay?
Well, North Bend. It's nearby. It's on the coast, the middle of Oregon coast.
North Bend.
So, yeah.
North Bend.
Yes, North Bend, Oregon. I left Brooklyn against my will when I was 4 years old. My parents hijacked me and took me to Miami, and that's where I grew up.
Well, that's where they're
Miami,
taking
Florida.
everybody now.
I know they were ahead of their time.
You would be just another statistic now. Everybody's
Oh, yeah,
leaving
well,
for Miami.
Well, it was a long time ago. I'm right about your age, so that was way back.
Well, you sound younger.
Yeah, I was wondering, what do you think of that? As John Pierre would call it, the Nordstrom, the Nord Stream, but she says Nordstrom. What do you think about it?
What do I think about the bombing? Or
who blew? Yeah, who blew that up? Really?
I don't know. I'd have to be irresponsible to take a guess at it. I wouldn't exclude possibilities like Ukraine. It would have been in their interest to do that. I would not want to include us in it unless I had more information, meaning the United States. But I guess if we did, I wouldn't be shocked, and I wouldn't be shocked if Russia did. I mean, there are a lot of possibilities there, because they all had a motive to do it. And since we're not going to get the truth from this lying administration, so you're on the water in North Bend, huh?
Yeah, I'm right across from the bay.
Yeah, you're right on the bay, and then the Pacific is right beyond you, right?
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Nice part of the world, huh? But what's going on in that state? Oregon.
This is horrible. Well, I came up here 30 years ago from California to get away from the craziness, and this is worse. We have Portland, where Walmart and Walgreens pulled out. Yeah, well, that's where the federal courthouse. They kept trying to burn that. Remember?
Oh, sure, but that's okay. That's okay. They can do that.
It's like right, exactly. It's trying to be like San Francisco.
Oh, that's a great
smaller version of.
that's a great
I
example.
know
like
it's
San Francisco.
horrible. And
Well-
and you could buy any kind of drugs, but you can't pump your own gas.
Why can't
One
you?
of the two states where you can't pump. Well, you can't in New Jersey, I don't think, can you?
New Jersey.
I didn't know that.
In New Jersey.
I think
no.
unless they changed it.
You
They
can't. You
said
can on
when
the
I came-
highway. You can on the highway.
Oh, I did that, didn't I?
Yeah,
Yeah.
but
No. They did it for
Yeah.
us, or did I do it?
Yeah, we did it on the highway.
Okay, yeah.
Maybe we violated the law. I don't know. I'm looking at Ted. Shh.
yeah, but
Oh
but
my
here
God!
you,
This is worse than Stormy Daniels. This will be worse than Stormy
No,
Daniels.
if I recall correctly, I don't even know if we did it or if we had somebody. I remember somebody being there.
Oh,
and
now he's changing the story. Here he goes.
I think I did it, and I asked though, so they gave us permission.
You have a right to remain silent. Anything you say would be used against you.
I'm
Well,
listening to the man.
but it's a real pleasure talking to you. God bless you, and
yes,
I hope
and,
I hope
yeah, I never
North Bend
I
looks.
never missed.
Go ahead, please. What were you going to say?
I was going to say I never miss your show. I try to get it live, but if I don't, then I catch it. When it's repeated on.
Thank you.
Or not repeated, but when it's on YouTube, and I've told a lot of people about it.
Well,
so
thank you.
God bless you.
I appreciate that
And,
very, very much.
And I pray for you and Trump to
Well, we
get to a point where we could clean up. There's going to be a lot of cleanup needed after 2 more years of Biden.
I pray for that too. Is North Bend somewhat nicer because it's more rural?
Well, that's what saves us.
I
It's
thought so.
totally different. It's like Bakersfield, California. When you get away from the coast, you get normal people that know what bathroom to use.
Man, if I ever get to North Bend, I'm stopping in. Okay, I'd love to talk to
Okay,
you.
you have my number.
Okay,
Take care.
all right, you got ours.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Oh, isn't she great? Well, let's do that.
Bye-bye.
Let's do that last one on soccer time because we promised it. Ted, we had one
Yes,
left.
Lenore, North Carolina.
It's fun when I look on the map.
Lenoir. That's the name of the place. The name we don't have.
L-E-N.
O-I-R.
Hello,
Hello?
Rudy Giuliani.
No joke.
No joke. No, I'm not kidding.
This is incredible.
So
I can't believe it. I called earlier and couldn't get through to you. I can't believe you called me back. This is great.
Yeah,
Thank you so much.
Unfortunately, our technology hasn't caught up with us yet, but we have to call you back rather than you're being able to call directly, and we'll fix that in a couple of weeks. But so
Okay, cool.
so where are you in Lynn?
I am in Lenore, North Carolina.
Okay, and your name?
My name is Derek.
All right, Derek. So what's up?
Well, I was just wondering what is going to happen with the next election because I'm really concerned about the mail-in voting. If people can just mail in votes all over the country, it just doesn't. It doesn't seem fair. It doesn't seem. It kind of makes things seem a little bit rigged to me.
Well, it would be. It would be completely fraudulent. It would be completely dishonest.
Well, that's what just happened.
No. Well, that isn't what just happened in different states.
Yes, absolutely.
The Democrats were trying to pass a law that would have made it national. The law never passed. Certain states have actually changed the law to tighten up on, like Georgia, like Wisconsin. So we shouldn't have a repeat of in those states. Other states like Pennsylvania, Michigan, still are subjected to the possibility of that. So we got to be very, very careful. But you're absolutely right. The way to fix an election is through absentee ballots that do not have strict identification, meaning voter ID and photograph. And
yeah, that'd be great if we could do that through the entire nation. If everybody, when you go to vote, you vote one day, you show your ID, you prove who you are. That would be incredible.
Yeah, maybe we'd bring this country together again if we did that.
I think we possibly could.
Then we'd really know who the president is.
Yeah, that's another thing.
Well, thank you. Thank you very,
Thank
very
you
much.
so much, sir. It's an honor talking to you. I swear,
Well,
this is amazing.
Well, I'm glad you got through to us, and I'm glad we were able to talk to you. God bless
Thank you so much, sir.
God bless
God bless you. Thank you.
Well, I think we had a very interesting evening tonight. I'm glad we were able to get a few more phone calls in than we usually do. Sometimes we don't. We've got so much to talk about, or I talk on so much. I don't know, one or the other. We had an unbelievable night last night. My goodness, we broke all records last night. We were over 130, 140,000 on Twitter last night before we even got started. I think we ended up over 200,000, which, given the fact that we're only, 3 months old, pretty good. And we don't have much advertising so do it by word of mouth, like our friends are doing. You tell them 8 to 9. It's, what do you call it, Ted?
Stoppage time.
Yeah, we're in soccer time now.
Soccer time, stoppage time.
So we have a
Nobody
little.
knows except for
We'll
us.
give you a little extra time, if you had an important call. So take a good look for your own good at this scandal involving the SVB Bank, particularly, and maybe Signature too. We'll have more on that tomorrow, because it is helpful, really, to your own protection. Don't count on the fact that because they bailed out these people, over 250,000, who were very, very big left-wing Biden green agenda supporters, they're going to bail you out. My guess is they will not, given the way they treated the people in New Palestine, or the way they treat our people in general, who I think they hate us. Now, just watching their reaction to New Palestine when I went there, and I think they hate us because we're standing in the way of the new world order. Well, gee, I like America the way it was when I was born. God bless America. We can improve, but we improve within our way of life and our Constitution. And we defer to the wisdom of our founders. And don't give me this slavery crap with them unless you're going to change the name of the Democrat Party. When you do that, then I'll realize you're not hypocrites. But you're carrying around the name of the biggest institution that supported slavery without any doubts. Even the people you attack had big doubts about slavery and did things that helped ultimately to eradicate slavery by writing principles into our Constitution and our founding documents. The Democrat Party never did any of that. So we'll be back tomorrow. We'll see how this weak, cowardly administration reacts to Russia's attack on an American military vehicle. We'll see how many more of its friends it bails out. And we'll find out, are there any other banks in this situation? And we'll keep focusing on 2024 and organizing ourselves so we can take our country back and protect our way of life. God bless America. God bless all of you. And go to rudygiulianics.com, because tomorrow on the podcast, we should have posted a rather simple, but I think a little more detailed explanation of what happened with the bank. That'll be helpful to you in figuring out what you should do about your own finances to protect yourself.
What does the CS stand for?
Oh, common sense.
The fastest hour on the internet is now up. Mayor, what is your closing message? I guess you kind of
my closing message is go to rudygiulianics.com and wabcradio.com tomorrow between 3 and 4, and we'll have 20 more for you. God bless you, and God bless